Hello and welcome to the AOPO EDU webinar. Today we have a great session planned for you on SOTA and OPO collaborations to engage student populations. My name is Jenny Daigle. I am the Senior Manager of Public Affairs and Communications at AOPO, and I will be facilitating today's call. So I am honored to introduce our three panelist speakers today. First, I have Nicole Nidia from SOTA. She is their program director. So she's going to give us such a great background on the SOTA organization and then how OPOs can collaborate with them for success. And then we have Abby Litovsky. She's the community liaison at Legacy of Hope, and Jennifer Cray, the volunteer services lead at NEDS. And they're both really excited to share with us how their OPOs collaborate with SOTA to reach these different groups. So with that, we have a lot to cover today. So I'm going to pass the call to Nicole to get us started.
Hi there, everybody. Thank you, Jenny, for the warm welcome, and thank you all for being here today. I'm really excited to tell you more about how you can engage students in organ, eye, and tissue donation advocacy with SOTA, which stands for Student Organ Donation Advocates. But first, on the next slide, I want to tell you a little bit more about me. As Jenny said, I'm the program director. I do a little bit of everything here at SOTA. My role mainly focuses on things like relationship building, strategy, and fundraising. But even though I joined the team, the SOTA national team officially in 2021, I've actually been involved with the organization since 2015 when I was a student. I want to tell you a little bit more about how the journey came to be, because I am the perfect example of how a student can turn into a lifelong organ donation advocate. When I started college at Washington University in St. Louis in 2015, I didn't know anything about organ donation really, but I saw that there was going to be a tour of St. Louis's OPO's offices, and I thought I wanted to go to medical school. So it was really exciting to hear that I could tour a surgical suite. When I got to that event, I learned that it was about organ donation, and I heard from Sarah, who is SOTA's founder and today our board president. She told me about her personal connection to organ donation, which I'll share more about later. But from that moment on, I was an organ donation advocate. And I helped lead that original SOTA chapter at WashU when I was in school, and then I started a career in nonprofits. And I wanted more of a leadership role, and organ donation was top of mind for me even after I graduated. So I reached out to Sarah and I let her know that I wanted to help volunteer. Her and I built SOTA's fundraising program from the bottom up, and we raised enough funds to bring me on full-time as the first employee in 2021. So I love working with our students because I was a student leader at one point. Organ donation is definitely a cause that means a lot to me, and I'm sure all of you in the crowd as well. Enough about me. I want to tell you more about SOTA, but like I said, that story really starts with Sarah, who is our founder. So on the next slide, there is more information about Sarah's connection to organ donation. Sarah is part of a donor family because her sister Laura was an organ donor. When Sarah was 12 years old and Laura, her older sister, was 14, Laura was experiencing headaches. They went to the pediatrician. They told her it was probably just puberty and to take a few Tylenol. Then one morning, Laura suffered a series of seizures and she was rushed off to the hospital. A few days later, she was pronounced brain dead at the hospital, and the family was approached about organ donation. Sarah and Ron, Laura and Sarah's parents, believed in organ donation and knew it was important, but it was a very difficult decision for them to make because they were talking about their 14-year-old daughter who was healthy only 14 days earlier. And then a social worker approached Sarah and their younger sister, Rachel, who's in the middle, and they told Sarah and Rachel about organ donation. Sarah and Rachel were really adamant that Laura needed to be an organ donor so that no other family would experience the loss like they did. So Laura was an organ donor, and she saved the life of Trish, who was a special education teacher in New York State and is still doing well with Laura's liver today. After Laura passed away, people would ask Sarah how she was doing. They would ask her what it was like to lose her sister. And those were difficult questions to answer, but she was able to shift that conversation into something really positive when she was able to share that Laura was an organ donor. And Sarah saw shifts happening in those people as well. They went from knowing nothing about organ donation like I did to supporting organ donation and saying, I'm going to go home and register, or I'm going to let my loved one be organ donors. So Sarah realized that storytelling was a really, really important way to change people's minds about organ donation and make them be organ donors. So she would go to anywhere that would have her and share her story about organ donation. She would go to driver's ed classes at her high school and share her story. She would go to her youth leadership group and tell her story. And this was really important. And I know that all of you probably understand how important this is as well. And because you go into schools as well. And on the next slide, I'm going to share a little bit more information about why going to schools to provide organ donation education is so important. So on this slide, I have a quote from a research study by Dr. Arthur J. Rubens. Dr. Rubens was studying multicultural students and their perceptions of organ donation, but I think that his findings could be applied to students from any background. And one of his findings states that schools are the perfect environment to provide organ donation education because students are primed to learn in that environment and are open to new ideas and new perspectives. But another really key part of his finding is the importance of peer-to-peer education. So on the next slide, you'll see that Dr. Rubens found a correlation between students who wanted to support organ donation and students who knew somebody who also supported organ donation. So that peer-to-peer advocacy is really magic. So Sarah talking to other students was magic, and she wanted to continue this when she went to college. She started college in 2014 at Washington University in St. Louis, like I said. And one of the first things she did was flip through the student group directory. And she was really disappointed to see that there was no group advocating for organ donation on campus. But she knew the perfect next step would be to get into touch with the OPO in St. Louis. So that's what she did. She went to a volunteer training session with Mid-America Transplant. And at that training session, she met two other WashU students who were passionate about organ donation, and they started the first ever SOTA chapter. On the next slide, you'll see that this first ever SOTA chapter was a lot of work. There was a lot of trials and tribulations and challenges along the way. Just as an example, for number 2, it says create a brand. We don't really share this very often, but before SOTA was SOTA, we were called Organize, so capital ORGAN and little IZE. And this name did not go over well at WashU. Students thought the club was about cleaning, and so they switched up the name really fast. It became SOTA really fast. But that just proved about how hard it could be for students to navigate the student group horizon or environment on campus and learn how to get other students activated in the cause that they care about. And on the next slide, you'll see that other students wanted to do this as well. Sarah was starting to hear from other students who wanted to start SOTA chapters, but she didn't want any students to struggle like she did when she first founded her student group. So SOTA chapter at WashU had to decide if we were going to be a nationwide thing or if we were just going to be one strong local initiative. And spoiler alert, we decided to go national and we became SOTA National, which is our overarching nonprofit that supports all the SOTA chapters. And at the time, SOTA National name was kind of funny because we were just one chapter in St. Louis and then 2 in Wisconsin. But today we are truly SOTA National because we have nearly 60 chapters On the next slide is a chapter map, so you can see where all of our chapters are. But you should take notice that there's a lot in New England and a lot in Alabama because of our strong partners at those OPOs. So I'm really excited that you're going to hear from Jen and Abby very soon. And then I wanted to take a little bit of time to describe what type of students make up those 60 chapters. Typically, students come from two different backgrounds when they want to start a chapter. The first type of student has a personal connection to organ donation, just like Sarah did. And this makes a lot of sense because they want to give back. And above that picture, or on the left, I have a picture of Soda at George Mason University. And Maddie, who's on the left of that picture, she is a liver transplant recipient, and she applied to start Soda chapter from her hospital bed. So we're always in awe of the students who want to give back, and I'm very impressed, especially by transplant recipients, for the passion that they have for their Soda chapter. The other type of student that we usually see come to start a Soda chapter want to pursue a medical career. So they might want to be a nurse, they might want to be a doctor, they might want to be a tech of some sort. But I have a picture of Soda at Chelsea High School in Alabama right there because they work very closely with their school's hosted chapter to put on an event. And if you're not familiar with HOSA, it is a national organization with chapters across the country, kind of like Soda, but they are focused on promoting healthcare careers with high school students. So it's a very natural fit for hosted chapters and Soda chapters to have some collaboration. On the next slide, I describe a little bit about what these chapters do. So there are two main things that our chapters do once they are an established student group. The first thing that they do is they educate people about the importance of organ, eye, and tissue donation. And the education initiatives might look like posting on social media to reach their local community and their followers to educate them about organ donation, or it might look like inviting a transplant recipient or a donor family to campus to share more about their story. Registration is kind of self-explanatory. It's usually registration drives on a busy place on campus so that they can register as many people in person and answer any questions that they might have about organ donation. We're very proud of that Whitco Career Academy chapter in Indiana, and I'm sure you will be too once you see that clip after this webinar. But thanks to that chapter and all of our chapter, we're saving lives. On the screen here, you'll see the number of people our students have registered per school year, and this impact is increasing year by year. And I'm really proud to share that since 2014, our students have educated over 77,000 people about the importance of organ, eye, and tissue donation and registered nearly 6,000 people as donors in total. To make this impact possible, we provide students with free resources, which are listed on the next slide. And like I said, all of these resources are free, and the purpose of them is really to make advocacy easy and fast for students, because Sarah experienced a lot of challenges starting that first ever Soda chapter, and we don't want any other student to have those barriers. We'll provide them with anything that they need to save lives, including pizza money or t-shirts, so that it's really easy and simple for them and that they can make a really big impact. But we do not do this alone. We work with nearly 30 OPOs to support our chapters. On the next screen, you'll see how this relationship really works. All of the resources that we provide students are to help them on campus. So we consider Soda the student experts, but we know that OPOs are the organ donation experts, because you are all out there actually doing the work, and you have teams of researchers behind you, you know your local organ donation community. So we ask that OPOs make our Soda chapters part of the organ donation community by inviting them to volunteer events or celebration activities, and then also to train our students and provide them with organ donation education through your existing volunteer training program. On the next slide, you'll see some of the OPOs that we work with. And again, I'm really happy to share that Jen from New England Donor Services and Abby from Legacy of Hope are here to share the OPO perspective with you. But in addition to supporting existing chapters, OPOs also provide a really important part in recruiting students, because you are all out there doing the work, like I said. And so you're meeting students, whether that's at community fairs or presentations. So you can tell students about SODA. Another way that we recruit students is through word of mouth. So an adult might tell a student to get involved, or a student might tell another friend to get involved. And like I said, I mentioned SODA at George Mason University and how Maddie, the founder there, is a transplant recipient. Well, her high school friends wanted to do something to honor her transplant, so they founded their own SODA chapter at Meredith College. One of the other main ways that students learn about SODA is online. SODA National invests a lot of time in our website and social media so that we're easily found. So we will post on Instagram a lot, because a lot of students are on Instagram. We might do paid ads. We also make sure that we have SEO on our website so that we're easily found as well. And on the next slide, you'll see that these strategies are really important because we have a big goal approaching. We doubled between 2020 and 2022. So we want to double again and have 100 chapters by the end of 2025. And this is really cool because it's really well aligned with AOPO's goal to have 50,000 transplants. And because that goal is not going to be possible without education and registration, which is why I'm really excited to announce that AOPO is our presenting sponsor for our campus challenge. And you'll see the logo for that campus challenge on this slide. And on the next slide, you'll learn a little bit more about the campus challenge. But the lowdown is that this challenge is going to be a competition for new and seasoned advocates to boost education and registration rates. So they'll earn points for doing education and registration initiatives. So they'll get points for hosting education events. They'll get points for applying to be or referring a new SODA chapter. They'll also get points for being involved with you all, their OPO. If they volunteer with you, they'll get points, or if they get trained as a volunteer with you, they'll get points. And we're really excited to reward students for doing these activities and saving lives through cash prizes and exclusive merch. We've never really done cash prizes before, so I really hope that motivates students. But what the exclusive merch that we're going to be handing out is sweatshirts. And we survey all of our chapters at the end of every single semester. Last semester, they all told us they wanted sweatshirts. So I think this is going to go over really, really well. And then on the next slide, there is a QR code that will take you to a web page that will give you resources to promote this campus challenge, including virtual flyers. We're actually going to be mailing your OPO physical flyers, so you'll have these printed out and ready to share with students. But in the meantime, if you want to learn more and get access to virtual flyers, scan this QR code now. And at the end of my section, there'll also be this QR code again, so we can move on and talk about how you can start SODA chapters, because I know that's really the bread and butter, what we're known for. And that's usually the question that I get from OPOs is like, how do I get a SODA chapter? So here are my top tips on how you can start your next SODA chapter. My first tip is to add SODA to your website, primarily probably on your volunteer opportunities webpage, because it can mean a lot to a student who goes to your website to see that there's an opportunity for them that's special for students where they can interact with people their age. I also recommend that all of OPOs include SODA as a slide in your classroom presentations. So you're probably talking to high schoolers in driver's ed classes or health classes before they get their driver's license. And this might be the first time that they learn about organ donation, and they might really be motivated to take action. So SODA can be a great way for them to save lives on their own. And this is perfect because this means that instead of just going to a school once per year, you have students advocating for organ donation all school year, and you also have a relationship with that school all school year as well. And this might seem counterintuitive, but my last tip is to actually share SODA with adults. Obviously, soda is for students and we help students save lives, but adults have a lot of influence over the students in their lives. So they can encourage their children, their grandchildren, their nieces and nephews to start a soda chapter as well. And you are not alone in taking these action steps to start your next soda chapter. On the next slide, I have another QR code that takes you to our general OPO webpage. We have tons of resources for all of you on our webpage right now, including sample website copy, slide templates, and a way to request soda to be at your next volunteer meeting so that we can share soda with your adult volunteers. Another bonus is that adults always love to hear about the next generation of organ donation advocates, which is why I'm guessing you're all here as well. And then I just want to bring it all back to 100 chapter goal because we can't do this alone. OPOs have been critical to our success up to this point. And so I wanted to extend a thank you to everybody that already works with SODA and is a champion for our mission and for students in our service area. But we're going to need your help. So I really appreciate you all being here today to learn a little bit more and taking some action to engage more students in organ donation advocacy. But as we're looking ahead to the future, I am excited to get 100 chapters, not only to engage students, but also be a way for students to share their stories and their personal connections to organ donation. So I want to tell you a little bit more about some of our students, which I'm sure you're going to hear more about our students from Jen and Abby very soon. But at the top right, we have a picture of our University of Alabama chapter, and Allison was the founder of that chapter. She founded her soda chapter because she wants to be a doctor, and she actually made soda and organ donation a part of their school's very popular dance marathon event, and she educated 10,000 people about organ donation last semester. Thanks to this impressive feat, she was awarded 2 different awards by her university for her leadership. We're also supporting students like Anthony, who's the bottom middle picture. He is a liver transplant recipient, and in addition to being his soda chapter's president, he is his school's student body president and wants to make organ donation a bigger part of his school's culture. He has lots of leadership positions because he's also on the national board as our college student liaison. I also want to tell you about Allison, who's on the far left. Allison actually founded that chapter that Anthony now leads, and she is a transplant nurse today and still volunteers with NEDS. She is actually in a PhD program, so she can do research, and she was actually the primary author on a research study titled Supporting Reproductive Care for Patients Requiring Solid Organ Transplant. So she is so educated, and we're so proud of her and all of our chapters for their life-saving impact. As I wrap up, I want to go to the final slide so that you have those QR codes again. And I want to share a few thank yous. Thank you again to our OPO partners who work with us. If you don't work with us, I hope to see you in our doors very, very soon. And I want to thank AOPO for having me here today, but also for supporting students by being part of our campus challenge. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for sharing a little bit about SODA and some of the success stories, not only to increase donor registrations, but also just to see some of the students that are engaged with the organization, how their career paths have really been influenced by the work that they've been doing with SODA. So I hope every member on here takes a look at SODA's website and resources and considers this as part of your community outreach strategy. But we're going to hear from our next speaker, who is going to share how Legacy of Hope collaborates with SODA to reach their student groups. So Abby, you're up.
Hi, hello everybody. My name is Abby Latovsky and I am the community liaison at Legacy of Hope. We cover the entire state of Alabama. I'd first like to start off by giving a huge shout out to Nicole and Sophia with SODA. We are so thankful for this SODA partnership, and as someone who works with them with 6 chapters, they are incredible partners, very responsive and very dedicated. So it is our pleasure to work with them, and I am so excited to continue that partnership. Next slide, please. So we always start with our vision and mission. Our vision and mission is that we will end the wait and the suffering by shepherding the gift of life to those in need of organ and tissue transplants. And this is something that we can't do by ourselves. We really rely on our ambassadors to go out in the community. We have a large state. Alabama is a big state, and a small but mighty public education team. So our ambassadors do a huge part, but these SOTA partnerships also play a huge part in expanding our mission within the schools. We also like to share our core values: compassion, hope, dedication, integrity, collaboration, and belonging. So I want to start off by telling you a little bit about how we got SOTA started at Legacy of Hope, and a little bit about some of our current chapters. We have 6 active chapters in our state. Chelsea High School was our first chapter, and we were really lucky with our Chelsea partnership because Chelsea High School approached us in 2021. They had heard about SOTA through their HOSA chapter at their school. HOSA is very active at Chelsea. HOSA, as Nicole mentioned, stands for Health Occupation Students of America. And through this HOSA chapter, the faculty advisor with Chelsea was really eager to get a chapter started at Chelsea. So that really got the ball rolling for us. And what we started to see with Chelsea High School is we can have these students doing the work and helping us expand and register folks and teach students. We know students are going to be so much more likely to listen to fellow students when it comes to donation. So we really wanted to expand SOTA in as many schools as we could. Oak Mountain High School is in the same school district as Chelsea. So they saw what Chelsea was doing and they wanted to get a chapter started. Nicole told us a little bit about University of Alabama student Allison. Allison's mom was a volunteer with us, was an ambassador with us at Legacy of Hope. So she already had that connection to organ donation. And as you heard, she absolutely ran with it. And Alabama is one of our most active chapters. I want to go down to University of Alabama at Birmingham. This is a special chapter for us because Legacy of Hope is housed at the UAB campus. So when we were getting these chapters started, we said we need to have a chapter started. One of our ambassadors was a UAB student and was very eager about getting a chapter started when I talked with him about it. They had the students and we were looking for a faculty advisor. And I turned to my dad, who is a faculty member at UAB, and I said, I have a big favor to ask you. And he said, absolutely, because he's the best. So one of the things I really want to encourage you to do when you are looking into starting chapters is to reach out to the connections that you have. It can be family members like with me, and it can be your ambassadors. It can be your community partners. It can be your staff. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. Our newest chapter is the University of South Alabama, and we're really excited to get them started. On the right here, this picture is our Chelsea High School students and faculty advisors at our Celebration of Life picnic that we have for Donate Life Month. So our chapters are really big parts of our organization. We invite them to our big events and we work really closely with them. Next slide, please. So talking a little bit about recruiting new SOTA chapters. As I mentioned, this is a team effort. We decided that SOTA was so important that we added it to our strategic planning. So we really are passionate and intentional about recruiting new SOTA chapters. So we post periodically on our social media, looking for connections for the folks who follow us. That has yielded some interest for potential new chapters. SOTA is a part of every community outreach event and presentation we do. We have flyers at every tabling event. We have a slide about SOTA in all of our trainings. It's included in our ambassador trainings and all of our community trainings. We've had people who've expressed interest about SOTA be from presentations with funeral directors. In schools, we are really trying to expand the partnership with HOSA. You'll see in one of my upcoming slides that we joined Chelsea High School at the HOSA Leadership Conference, and we were together trying to use those partnerships to help recruit new students. One of the big things with getting new chapters started is helping the students see if they're part of a hosted chapter at their school. They're already doing a lot of work by sometimes doing things like blood drives, doing things like connecting with blood donation. Organ donation is a really easy fit to make that work too. We talk about SOTA in all of our staff meetings as well. One of our pending chapters right now, our former executive director's daughter attends a high school, and they have officially submitted an application with SOTA. So it's our staff, it's our whole community rallying together to recruit new chapters and get chapters started. We are really proud of our chapters all across our state. In just this past school year, in just the 2022-2023 school year, the chapters in Alabama registered 197 new donors and educated over 11,000 people about organ, eye, and tissue donation. And again, my point is that just our public education team alone would not have been able to reach those 11,000 people. It's because of the time that we're putting into working with our students that we can let them go ahead and make this impact in their communities. So by putting the effort into getting these chapters started and supporting these chapters, we can educate so many more than we could on our own. One of my favorite parts about SOTA is that it's not the same for each school. Each school is unique and have different interests and activities that they want to participate in. And that's what I tell potential new SOTA chapters, is that this can look however you want it to look. My role is helping them come up with some ideas, but letting them be as creative as they want to be. That's one of the things I love, is that they can create the opportunities for themselves. For example, our University of Alabama chapter had a great success for National Donor Day, and then they participated in their school's dance marathon, had one of our Legacy of Hope ambassadors, a donor family, share her story at that dance marathon. Some of our chapters have tabled at the Mercedes Marathon. That is a huge event in Birmingham. They've organized blood drives. They've presented to principals in their school districts. They've hosted Donuts for Donors events. The list is endless and the possibilities are endless. And that is really exciting, that we don't put them in a box. They can really create whatever opportunities work for them. And we're there to help them every step of the way. So Legacy of Hope provides the training for the new chapters. So we educate them on organ, eye, and tissue donation. And I also let them know that SOTA is there to be a support, but we are also there to be a support as well. For example, one of our chapters needed a few extra hands to help them with an event. So I went and helped and supported them at that event. So really, because we see how important SOTA is to educate our community about donation, we will help support our chapters. Like I said, SOTA and Nicole and Sophia, they provide materials to those chapters, but we can as well. So we really want to help our chapters succeed. Next slide, please. Put together some different pictures of our students doing different events. Was really exciting when we got that official notice that our first chapter, Chelsea High School, was approved. You'll see different pictures and different events, and there's a lot to look at. But in the bottom left, Allison is one of the most go-getter people I've ever met in my life. And she saw that Tyler Cameron, who was on The Bachelorette, was coming to do an event at her sorority. You may know Tyler's story. Tyler's mom was recently a donor, and he has become a very strong advocate for donation. So they got him the SOTA t-shirt, which he actually shared to his hundreds of thousands of followers, which was really exciting. You'll see pictures from Legacy of Hope at the HOSA conference with Chelsea, Donuts for Donors events, and different education activities. We're really proud of our partnership with our SOTA chapters and really excited to grow. Next slide, please. I know I'm running out of time, but I am always happy to talk with anybody about SODA and the partnership. My contact information is here. I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of this webinar, but you can also take my phone number and my email down and contact me with any questions that you may have. What's next for us is we have 2 chapters that have put in applications to be chapters. So we are eager to go from 6 to 8 really soon. We want as many hearts to fill up that state of Alabama on that map that Nicole showed. We want to have as many chapters where you have to make Alabama bigger on the map to fit all the chapters that we have. It's something that we're very passionate about. We put the time and effort in because we see the benefit in our state. I really appreciate the time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Abby. I love how Legacy of Hope really empowers students to be creative with the activities that they put on to raise awareness about organ donation. So I think that's a great tip for our community here, is to really be a guide for these students, but also give some ownership to them as well. All right, our next speaker is Jennifer Cray, the Volunteer Services Lead at New England Donor Services. Jennifer?
Hi, thank you, Jenny. Hi, everybody. It's great to be on with all of you, and I hope you're enjoying the discussion today. So I am Jen Cray. I work for New England Donor Services, and I manage our volunteer program. And I'm really excited to talk to you about our collaboration with SODA. It's been a very positive experience for us and certainly for the students that we're interacting with. And, really, there are so many benefits to collaborating with SODA. Obviously, we're increasing school outreach. We're increasing the number of teen and young adult volunteers that we're working with. And what's really wonderful, and I know that Nicole mentioned this early on, we're helping to foster careers in this field. Some of the students we're working with do have that personal connection to donation, but many do not. As Nicole had mentioned, they're going into nursing or other medical fields, research. So for us to help foster that is really wonderful. And one of the things we can do is we offer to, students to come to our office, to our facility. We can host a presentation and a tour of our site, and they can talk with our clinical staff. And that's been something that they've really enjoyed. Students feel really supported in this environment. They have 2 organizations who are working with them, checking in, offering resources and support. And what I really like is the flip side. Again, two organizations to work with these students, to check in with them. So, I mentioned I run our volunteer program. I don't know if anybody on also works with volunteers or runs a volunteer program, but if you do, it can be tricky sometimes getting that follow through, hearing back from people. So students really are wonderful, but I can tell you it does help to have that second organization, to have SODA who's dedicated to working with these students, to also be able to check in, especially if we're not hearing back from someone. So that's worked out really wonderful. Students will come off campus as well and volunteer with our organization, our activities, and work with other volunteers. And I'm thinking of a group who had done, the UMass Lowell group had done a community event in the city of Lowell last summer. And this year, when the city reached out to us, they specifically asked for that amazing group of college students who ran the event last year. These students are absolutely amazing. And I think because we can collaborate and support them together, New England Donor Services with SODA, we're making all of their activities more successful. So what I do on the OPO end is sometimes we are meeting the students, and often SODA is introducing the students to us. So when Nicole introduces us to a new student, new chapter, I will provide a training for them, similar to the orientation that I provide for our volunteers at New England Donor Services. So it's usually a Zoom meeting. And we offer them, we, provide an overview on donation, talk about our organization so they have a better understanding of what does New England Donor Services do, as well as OPOs across the country, the donor registry. So they're prepared when they're doing their activities, answering questions and helping people register. We like to offer going to their schools and taking some pictures. So these photos can be used for their social media, for their activities they're doing, and we like to use their pictures too for our socials, of course. And we're highlighting both the SODA, NEDS, Donate Life logos, and that's been a lot of fun doing these photo shoots. This next one I think is really important. We invite our students and student groups to our annual Blue and Green Walk. This is our biggest event, bringing our local Donate Life community together. And it's really, it's a wonderful day, but you can imagine these students have an opportunity to see the work that we do. They're meeting donor families, recipients and their families, living donors, however people are connected to donation. And that's been really powerful for them. And the students that come out and volunteer at the walk come every year, keep coming out. So that's really great. And then, we receive feedback and comments from those who attend our walk and participate in it. And we hear from so many families who will tell us that, the energy that those quote unquote, those students brought to the walk, to the event was just so wonderful. They felt really welcomed. It was very uplifting for them. And again, that the students just brought that special vibe. So that's wonderful feedback for us to hear. And students, we want to make sure that we're supporting their student-led activities. So our staff, our volunteers are available to help out with their activities. And of course, we can offer NEDS and Donate Life branded materials as well, in addition to all the resources and materials that they receive from SODA as well. So just always trying to support the students the best we can. And then here you can see, we first talked with Sarah Miller, SODA's founder, in 2018. Nicole had mentioned previously that's when their expansion started. So that was the year that we had our first SODA chapter in Connecticut. And you can see that each year we add another 1 to 2 schools that we're interacting with. And we know, the further we get out from the pandemic, these numbers are only going to grow. There's more opportunities for students to do things on campus. And we know that we'll be interacting with more schools. Most of our chapters, high school and college, are in Massachusetts and Connecticut, but we cover 6 New England states. So we've done some school activities in some of the other states, but we'd love to start establishing some more SODA chapters in those other New England states. So more to come on this data. We know that's going to grow. And on this next slide, you can see just a few photos. You've been seeing a lot of photos today of students doing their activities, and I think that's great. You can really see just how awesome they are. They come up with creative ideas. Abby talked about a few things. They're very creative, very fun, and very motivated. They're doing all kinds of things in addition to tabling. So that's usually the most common thing that we see, where they're setting up on campus. But they also do some really fun things in April on the quad, setting up pinwheels or whatever it is. Lots of donuts for donation days. And Abby mentioned Tyler from The Bachelorette. His friend Matt, also on that reality show, he one of the Northeastern University SODA students, she was able to get him for a Zoom kind of meeting, and was a little bit of a fundraiser for our walk. So they're just super creative, a lot of fun. And you can also see there's a picture in the upper corner where some student groups also make blankets for our donor families. So there's all kinds of ways that they're interacting with us. And then on this next slide, really the last slide, is you can take a moment to read what Andy and Allison have shared about their experiences with SODA and our OPO. Andy is very excited to see where the new leaders will take the SODA Northeastern chapter. Both Andy and Allison have graduated. Allison, you saw previously on Nicole's slide. She is a transplant nurse now. We met her when she was undergrad at UMass Lowell. She also, just like Andy, remains involved with her chapter. They're mentors for the students that are running the chapters now. And they're also still involved with us as volunteers, which is just phenomenal. So you can take a second to read what they wrote. And just this last slide after this one is my contact information. I am more than happy to talk to anybody about SODA. It's been an absolute pleasure and very successful working with Sarah, Nicole, Sophia, wonderful team. And we know that this is going to continue to grow here in New England, and very excited that we've been involved with the collaboration. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's great to see the work that NEDS has done with SODA. Crazy that you have 9 chapters and can continue to grow that. So we're excited to see the work that comes out of it. All right, so that are all of our panelists today. We do have 10 minutes remaining in today's session to take any questions from attendees. So just a reminder, this is a Zoom webinar, so you're on a muted phone line, but if you'd like to ask a question, please go ahead and type a question in the Q&A box on the Zoom, and I'll go ahead and ask that of our panelists. You can also raise your hand if you prefer to ask a verbal question. So we did get one question. Thank you, Kelly Green. She says, thank you to all the speakers for sharing this important work. Abby, wondering if the Birmingham, Alabama SODA groups will get involved with the transplant games next summer. TGA teams would love to see their involvement.
That is a great question. We are so excited that the transplant games are coming to a very hot summer in Birmingham in 2024. And actually, Allison, who, as I mentioned, was one of our University of Alabama the founder for our Alabama chapter, she is now on the Alabama Transplant Games planning committee. So with her involvement, we would love to get our chapters active. It's going to take a lot of people and volunteers for the event. And so we're going to be eager to get our chapters involved.
Thank you, Amy. That sounds like such a great collaboration between the two groups, especially if it is being hosted in your area. All right, we have a few more questions that have come in. And this one is more for the panelists as a whole. So if you have a great response, please feel free to answer. The first is, when onboarding new SODA chapters, what works best to onboard, educate students?
I will take it. I'll start by explaining a little bit more about the process, and then I'll hand it over to Abby and Jen to see if they want to add anything, since they are actually doing the work in terms of supporting students as OPOs. So there are 3 steps to starting a SODA chapter. The first step is an eligibility quiz, which is just a super simple form where students tell us why they want to get involved and how much time they have. Then they find a team of 3 students, and then they submit an official application. As soon as we get that eligibility quiz, we reach out to the OPO to let them know that there's a student in their service area that wants to get involved with SODA. And we do this for a few reasons. The first is that only about half of the chapters that take an eligibility quiz actually go on to start a SODA chapter. So this is a really great way for you to get new volunteers, even if a SODA chapter doesn't work out. The other reason is just so you can start building a relationship with them if they do start a chapter. So we recommend you say hi right when I introduce you to them. And then once they're an official soda chapter, be sure to get that volunteer training set up pretty soon after they're an official chapter, which will also let you know once they're an official soda chapter, so that the students have the education that they need to begin events on campus. And then from there, you can do lots of things, which I'm sure Jen and Abby can add information to, but we suggest that you check in with them at least 2 times a semester once they're an official soda chapter. And we also encourage them to reach out to you as well. So it's not just one-sided, but yeah, that's how the structure works.
For us at Legacy of Hope, we like to, if it's before they've submitted an application, we like to go to the school, meet the students face-to-face if possible. If not face-to-face, by Zoom, talk with them about what a soda chapter would look like, how we can support them. Once they have become approved to be a soda chapter, then we'll do their onboarding training. As Jennifer mentioned, very similar to our ambassador training, a lot of the same information about organ donation statistics, the need, how to work an event, and how to ask questions and the best ways to register folks. So we'll do our training for them. And then, as Nicole said, follow up with them throughout the semester to make sure that they're supported.
In addition to that initial onboarding, the volunteer training, orientation, they're of course invited to any volunteer trainings and meetings that occur after that. You know, a lot of times volunteer meetings, we're talking about, you know, creative table ideas or whatever. And so the student chapters get a lot out of that as well. So it's always ongoing training, I think.
Wonderful. A follow-up question to that would be, how do you ensure a succession plan for these soda chapters, since students are going to be, you know, attending school and then graduating? Do they heavily participate in recruiting new students? Have there been any issues with soda chapters that, you know, the students are graduating and there's very limited students or no students in the chapter anymore? I'm not sure if there's any plan in place for the chapters for that.
On our resource slide that I shared at the beginning of this presentation, you might have noticed that there were how-to guides that we provide our students. And we have a bank of 25 guides on our website that cover things like how to host an in-person education event, or more specifically, how to find other students to join you. We really try to stress them building a great, strong team made up of students from multiple grade levels, so that there is somebody to pass on the chapter to once they graduate. We really try to stress that because soda chapters do fold, and the most common reason is because students graduate and then they can't find somebody else. So that is an issue, and it is natural for that turnover. But overall, we are seeing growth with our soda chapters, and we try to prevent that folding as much as we can by preparing students and telling them to find other students to join them.
Perfect. We have a couple more questions from our audience members. The next one is, can you share the makeup of your public education teams and how many staff are working to support the soda chapters in your area? Abby, do you want to take this first?
I sure can. So our public education team has 6 folks part of it. 3 of them are dedicated specifically to DMVs. So for us, my main focus is being ours. You know, I work the most closely with our soda chapters. I do a lot of our work with our ambassadors also. So soda felt like a really good fit. One of our other team members does a lot of school-based education, so she'll mention soda chapters, so she's very helpful in the recruiting of new chapters. But as I mentioned earlier, a pretty small team for covering a big state, which is why we're so thankful for these chapters and their help and their support.
But yeah, we have 6 as well. Well, actually, excuse me, 7, including myself in our public affairs. And two of our community educators are, well, 3 are specific for multicultural outreach, but they do work with a lot of our SOTA chapters. And also Matt at our office works a lot with legislation, with DMVs and so forth, registration. But he is always talking about SOTA and bringing that into his talks as well. So, we cover 6 states, and it's really the students that help us talk about it and get more chapters involved, in addition to our staff talking about it. So the students have been excellent at really trying to keep those chapters going, and SOTA just has a really great structure, I think, making it easy for students to keep these chapters continuing.
And Jennifer, are you the only staff person at NEDS that helps with the SOTA outreach? Do you have other members of your team that participate as well?
So it's mainly me, but again, so our multicultural outreach coordinators, they will work with students, but it's mostly, yeah, I'm interacting with them, and I onboard all of them. Yep.
Perfect. And the last question, which will take us to the end of today's session, is for you as well, Jennifer. An attendee asked if you could explain the photo shoot on campus for onboarding and engaging students.
Sure. It's really simple. I think this works out well. Sometimes when students are just getting started, we don't know what we want to do. We don't know, it's a lot of unknowns. And something we found that's really simple is asking, hey, could we go to your school? Do you want to take some photos? This is more with college. I'm trying to think if we've done it. We've done it once with high school. But, can we come on campus? Do you want to take some photos with your SOTA t-shirts and some Donate Life swag and things? And it's as simple as that. And we just go around campus so that there's photos with the college logo, college emblem, SOTA, NEDS, Donate Life, get them all in. It's really just that simple, spending a few minutes with the students, talking to them. So we do this typically after the orientation with them. That's when we go on to their schools. Yep. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And it also gives them, branding materials that they can use. So I think that's a good way to kickstart the SOTA chapter at schools. All right, well, those are all the questions we have for today. I want to give another huge thank you to our panelist speakers, Nicole, Abby, and Jennifer. The information was very valuable today, and I hope that this helps some OPOs consider how they can utilize SOTA in their community outreach efforts and look at beginning new chapters in their areas. So if you have any questions, please reach out and we'll be able to connect you with the panelists. We also did record today's session, so that will be available on AOPO Plus. And we ask that you forward it to any staff members who may have not been able to join us today. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope everyone has a great afternoon, and we will talk soon.